Hi everybody, this is Patrick with Patrick Scale Studio, and this is Build Video 8. Last week, I was trying to convince everybody, myself included, that I was going to get the decks finished and glued in place on the hull. I didn't wish to push you through any more pain than necessary though, so I kept the video under a half hour and left a couple of things undone. And with that, I'm glad I did. So this week, we're going to talk about getting the decks actually finished and glued down. For real. It occurred to me that this kit's got some decals, though, that are fairly large and very obvious. And they go down in the hull and the deck. And they're going to be rather difficult to apply if we waited until the very end. And I'll explain. Most of us, when we apply decals, wait until we're about 95% of the way through our project, whether that is a car, a tank, any kind of an airplane. And take the airplane, for instance. You get the cockpit painted up and get it assembled. You slap it between the fuselage halves, get the wings attached, the other flying surfaces attached. Then you get the paint on, sometimes a camouflage paint, sometimes bare metal. It doesn't matter, really. And then you get the undercarriage on. But somewhere in those last couple steps, after it's been painted, after everything's mostly been assembled, you get the decals and you put them on, and then you clear coat it, then you throw it up on the shelf and let it begin collecting dust for the rest of its life. That's most of us. That's not everybody, of course, but that is the majority of us. um, so this particular kit, though, if I waited until I was 95% of the way done, I'd have these great big decals that I'd have to worry about while I've got all this stuff up here. I've got railings and certain details and guns and all these different details to contend with. That would all be in the way of doing any of these decals. Likewise, some of them that go on the hull, you'd have to flip it over to its side. All that stuff still there, crashing into whatever it is that we're leaning this up against. So that would be a bad idea. So with that in mind, I went ahead and applied decals to the hole in the decks right now before everything got put together. So as you can see here, big deck, little deck, and the hull. So our video today is going to highlight the decals when I put them down in the instruction sequence, some tips and tricks for doing so because they're very tricky, and some gotchas that kind of happened to me along the way and how I kind of got around those. And then once that's done, we'll also clear coat them with Tamiya's X35, which is a semi-gloss clear. After that's dry, we'll move on to some spot detail painting on the aft bulkhead. And then finally, we'll get the decks glued in place. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where we're at so far because I have done some work in between last week and this week, and that is getting some of these decals applied on the hull. All right, so we got the hull number right there. It's 54 because this is DDG 54, the 54th Guided Missile Destroyer. Looks like these are, I believe, are depth markings, but I'm sure there's some other actual real nautical term for them that I do not have at hand right now. Get the rear ones applied. I got the name of the ship applied. Let's see if it'll come into focus. Just barely. And then the same thing on the other side. And then I also got this applied. We'll talk more about this. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and clear some of this stuff out here for the moment. And we'll go into what we did and how we did it. All right, so again, if we wait until we're almost complete with this build or complete, We're going to have fun stuff to work on. We'll have fun stuff that we're going to have to work around to put down decals. If we just go with the aft deck, for instance. So we get this gigantic, this is one piece. This decal comes in one piece, by the way. And this gigantic one piece decal that we put down over here with some details that it's going to go over. These details stand proud. The netting that goes around this. Anything else that might be in the way, you're going to have to deal with. That certainly would not be easy. It's a lot easier to apply this decal with this completely off, flat, nothing in the way. That's why I did it the way I did it, like this, before it's glued on. Same thing up front. I have not done this one yet. But again, you can see 5-inch gun, railings, more details up here. All of that would get in the way of that decal right there. 5-inch gun sitting right here. Some of these details, the capstan, other little bits and pieces right here, the railings. Much easier to apply this decal while this is nice and flat. I can sit this out on a nice big piece of cloth or a towel or some paper towels, and I've got all this space to rest my hands to move the decal around to get it in place where I need it to be. Same thing with this one here. And again, one piece. There's a great big red circle. I'll even look at the decal call out. See, there it is. This great big red circle. And then goes around the 5-inch gun. And it crosses over top of this. But this is one piece. That is one piece. Look at my finger and look at how thin that decal is. So I get all this stuff on here at 95% or more completed. And I try to put this on there and I'm just kind of messing around with it. It's going to twist up and it's going to be garbage. And I'm going to be frustrated because there's no replacements for this. After you've got all that stuff on there, you don't really want to go and try masking it off and painting that in there. And I would challenge anyone to try to paint that by hand. So that's why I did this in advance. I've had some other people say, no, I usually wait to do decals till everything else is done, until it's been assembled. I've got all the paint and all the putty done. I've got all the clear coats. Everything's done. That's when I do. I said, yeah, that's when I normally do it too. Not for this project. Absolutely not for this project. So with that said, we'll move on here to the next topic. I'll see you here in a second. Okay, so we're in this instruction booklet. Should we be putting on the decals? Probably want to do it prior to attaching these decks into the hull. However, one of those decals goes right over top of this photo etch part right here, A17. So probably want to make sure that we put A17 down on there. It's photo etch the plastic, so a little bit of super glue. Clean it up, paint it. After that dries, then put the decals down. Then come back here after all those decals are down. Slap these decks into place. Let's talk about which decals need to go down. And here is our decal placement guide and painting guide. And pretty far from accurate, by the way. I've already gotten decal number 4 out of the way. Done. As I was trying to demonstrate, it's so much easier to lay this flat on a surface or on a towel and have your hands out here so you can move this delicate little decal around and get it into place and get it where you want and then get it set. That's a lot better than with railings around it while it's up here on the hull of the ship and you got all this other stuff and you have nowhere to put your hands. Much easier right there. So it's decal number 4. Decal number 1. Let's get this up here. See if we can see it. All right, see, that's the ship badge for USS Curtis Wilbur. I have yet to find a picture online of the ship badge flat on the deck right there. Can't find it. I'm not going to put it down. Also, number two. Those teeny tiny little red placards. Those are going to go here, 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 here. Looks like, the front and back of each of the vertical launch system areas. So we'll get those in place. And again, a lot easier to do it while I've got area for my hands to be. And I get those put into place. No problems. What else? 17 and 33. These right here. And yeah, in case you're wondering, I did butcher that sheet of decals. We'll go into that more here in a bit. That's 1733. Spin that around. 17 right there. 33 right there. Again, if I've got this giant chunk of superstructure, another chunk of superstructure and funnels, and I've got a gun right there, and I got railings right there, how much fun is that going to be to put those down? Okay, moving on. Not 44, because 44 is on that superstructure. It's up here. So as we work on that, we'll get that put into place. We already went over 2 and 2, 20 and 45. These are going to be the last ones I'm going to do before I get these glued into place. All right, if we're looking at this, that red is over top the white. I also confirmed that online as well. So 45 has to go down first. And after 45, we'll put down 20 right there. In preparation for this, I'm always overly cautious with new projects and things like this that I haven't already done before, or decals that I haven't already used before and have extensive work with. These were somewhat of a mystery to me when I first opened this box, because they're real nice and thin. They're printed really well. Everything seems to be fairly good and registered. I just hadn't worked with them before, or this brand before, except for just a odd end placard here and there. So being overly cautious, I clear coated everything with Tamiya's X35. Let me put that down first. I did test, and the decals will lay down fine without this. I know there's a lot of controversy out there over whether or not you should clear coat your parts, clear coat your projects before you lay down decals. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I did test laying down these decals without clear coat and with clear coat. So with clear coat, it's just fine. Works just great. Perfect. And so you could say it was an unnecessary step after looking at these. Some of these laid down without clear coat. No clear coat underneath. And they conformed beautifully to the detail. They laid down perfectly. This right here is that section inside the hull where Trumpeter or I Love Kit or Hobby Boss, whatever brand you want to go with, stamped in the whole model right there. So 1200 Burke. And there's some serial numbers and such underneath that. So I laid down one of the decals over top of this just to see if it'd lay down properly. It did. It laid down great. No clear cut underneath it. Same thing here. This is the section of the hole where I've got the nut secured into place using milliput. Very, very rough texture. Laid down, snuggled in perfectly. And then same thing up here where I've got some gray. I kind of wanted to have a look at what would happen with the carrier film. That brings me on to the next thing. Using this right here, you can spray this over top of the decals. Again, look, and see that that carrier film is non-existent after doing so. So, as a tip and trick, I would definitely use X35 at least on top, at the very least on top. It makes the carrier film go away. Microset was handy, but not always necessary. I didn't use microset here. I did use microset on the hole numbers. The problem here is with these decals, regardless of using this or not, once you get them into place, they don't want to move. They want to settle down and they want to sit there, and it really takes a lot of water, paintbrush, and effort in order to get them to move and go where you need them to go, if any adjustments needed. When I used this, it made it much more difficult to get them to move after I freed them from the backing paper. So I didn't use them for this. I didn't use microset for this. I did use microset for the sides of the hole though, and it did help that stuff adhere pretty quickly. But again, it was a monstrous task getting them adjusted after they were on there. This right here, microsol, I'm going to use over top of everything that I still have yet to lay down, and I have used over top of everything that I've already laid down. As you can see, it got these decals, this right here, to snuggle into all these tiny little aircraft tie downs. The decal just sank in there, and it looks more or less like it was painted on. I'm trying to see if I can get that into focus there for you, but well, it stands out pretty well right there. That aircraft tie down right there in the middle of that white block. The decal really sank into that, snuggled up to that firmly, and it looks great. So I'm going to use this over top of everything that I put down. Another gotcha tip and trick, because these decals are so fragile. See how this is? When they designed the sheet of decals, they made this one that goes up front one piece. That is one decal. And there's no carrier film in between all this. The carrier film is just barely wider than the actual white on this decal right here. Instead, what they did was they nestled other decals into these spots that I had to cut out, making it a major hassle. One piece right there. This right here was one piece also. Imagine how much fun that was. What I did, and what I would recommend anyone else doing, is cutting this into parts. I actually cut this into 6 different parts. This right here, one part right here. This top band right here, one part. Side, one part, right, another part. And then this whole bottom with the circle, one whole big part, except for one little piece that I had to cut out of here. Now, there's another tip here. The actual kit part has 2 locating pins right there. This goes over top of it. The bollards that go into those locating pins are painted white too, because they fall right on top of this white marking. If you cut that off and then use a needle or an old airbrush needle, anything like that, to mark where you cut those pieces off, put the decal down, then later on when you're putting the bollards on, paint them white, just glue them down. Nobody will know any different that you cut those locating pins off. But cutting those off made that piece of that decal so much easier to go down. Also, when it's this large and you got all these different lines trying to go every which way, stretch every way, try to be anything but square on that piece, it was important for me to get one corner of this in place. I took a cotton bud or Q-tip, whatever you want to call it, and I stamped it down and got all the water out. So it helped the decal start to grip on the surface. And then from there, I worked out and was able to get everything laid down in place and started adhering to where it needed to be. After I got that one main piece down, I went on and got this top piece right here in. I continued with the side pieces. And finally this. This was my last hill. That was the last mountain to conquer because it goes over top of this hatch. As you can see, that hatch stands about 1 millimeter out of the deck. Put the decal over it. He's draped over it. Got it stamped down here. Got it stamped down here. Got most of the water pushed out. And then I came along with our good pal microsol. Applied the microsol beneath it and above it, and did not touch it after that. After that was in place, and it just sank down, sucked in, did its thing. And now it looks like it's painted on. So next steps for this video are going to be me getting these decals down. Everything except for decal 1. That's just completely way off. I'm going to get these decals down. I'm going to clear coat everywhere I've put decals on the hull and on these decks. And then we'll check out some of the detail painting. Be back in a few seconds. Okay, as you can see, all of the decals that went down on the deck have been put down. Are they perfect? No. But I think they're pretty close. That's good enough for me given how ridiculously hard they were to put in and get in position. This one, rough. Not as rough as this one, but rough. And I did this white one all in one piece. I didn't split it up. Not like this one at all. But it was definitely hard. This one, even harder. Yep, definitely harder. As thin as that is, which is about, I don't know, maybe a third of the width of this. You can imagine how much that one had to twist up, and moving it over here would cause 12 different wrinkles to appear everywhere else. So loads of fun. So yeah, red danger signs there. These went down wonderfully. These went down very well, very quickly, easy. 5 minutes apiece. 5 minutes apiece, and I had them straightened out. No problem at all. 45 minutes. Easy 45 minutes. And that's just if I didn't completely lose track of mind or have bad math, and maybe it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Who knows? But nonetheless, they're on. They're ready to go. Almost ready to apply a Tamiya X35 semi-gloss clear varnish all over everything, just to make them all disappear and blend in. But I figured before we do that, I will go ahead and get some detail painting done. The detail painting here, there's not a lot. Not going to be a lot. There's going to be these hoses, which are going to be orange with a little bit of a red toward the top, which is kind of like the hose holder. And then the air traffic controller window right there, which I'm going to have to put on like some light blue and do a little squiggle or something with some darker colors, trying to get it to look like a shiny glass sheen or something like that on there. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to have to experiment with it, but once I get everything done on that, then we'll put on that sweet X35 semi-gloss clear varnish. And then after that, probably put some gloss or maybe some wet effects on there, so that goes back to looking like shiny glass. Once that's done, then we'll glue it down. But detail painting, clear varnish here, clear varnish on the hull, everything dries, then we'll get it glued down. Sound good? Be back here in a few seconds. Okay, and I was not going to go ahead and show any of the painting here of this back air traffic control window part, but needless to say, the bottom pane and the side panes, I went and used a combination of light sea gray, RLM gray, and black green, and that's mainly because they all have just a touch of green in those grays. For the upper pane, the one that you would be seeing the sky reflected out of, used light blue, medium blue, a little bit of white, and over top of all of that, I put a little clear green on there to kind of give it that green window look. In all the pictures I've seen here, it looks like they're just green tinted glass in the windows. So that's what I used. And then finally, kind of dressed everything up with a little bit of the XF12 to match the bulkhead there. So thanks. I'll be back here in a few seconds. Okay, detail painting's all finished up. At this point, we are ready to marry the decks to the hull, starting, of course, with this one. And then our large hull piece right there. Now, as you can see, there's some movement there. It doesn't go down perfectly, so my wonderful array of quick grip clamps, and 4 really super tiny ones, a couple small ones, and then this guy right here. Probably won't use this if I can get away with it. It's really big, real powerful. Just a quick like that is enough to shatter the hull if it comes down to it. But yeah, for sure. Those 4, these 2. Probably also use some weights like paint cans, use some tape, things like that to get this to sit down the way it's supposed to. So the other thing I wanted to bring up here is I'm going to be using this liquid cement for it right here. Liquid cement for plastic models by Model Master Testers, actually by Rust-Oleum. I guess owns Testers. But I mean, for the most part, this right here, it's a kind of a thicker glue. It's not like the Mia extra thin or quick setting, anything like that. I can put this down, and I can put it down in this recess right here, and then I can put everything in and weigh it down, clamp it down, and then let it set up overnight. There's going to be enough pressure put on this, and in order to kind of keep this in place and where everything went, I'm going to want to let this at least cure overnight, 24 hours overnight. Let that go, do its thing. The plastic kind of melts on each piece and molds to one another. And after that, then we'll be able to take off all the clamps, move it around, play with it, take it to the bathtub if you want. I'm just kidding. I won't take it to a bathtub. Tape, clamps, heavy glue. Also, what you want to make sure you're doing, also, is if you're putting anything down on any detail, um, instead of like just these blank areas, but you're going to put any weights down on detail, make sure you put something underneath it between that weight and the deck, your painted deck. And you're just going to try to protect the deck a little bit better. Every time I do anything with this, and this is with primer, without primer, I'm still managing to kind of nick the paint here and there. That's going to lead to more touch up, and that's a pain in the butt. A couple of things here that I've been working on off camera that I have not brought up yet is the propellers. Ooh, nice and shiny, right? So the instructions call out for copper. If you go and check the reference pictures, they're not copper. They're more like I believe they're supposed to be bronze or a bronze alloy. The color is actually a lot closer to like the titanium gold, which is that right there. However, it's still not the same. What I did was I took bronze, I put bronze down as kind of a base color, and then I came along with the titanium gold and scored a little bit on there. Prior to that, though, in order to have that great metallic sheen, I used polishing sponges on those propellers, all the way from 400, 600, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. By the time it's getting to the 3,000, you almost have a sheen to the plastic. Then after that, by some fine polishing compound and then some finishing polishing compound. And just apply these and work at it with some cotton buds or Q-tips, whatever you want to call them. And what you'll eventually get is a nice shiny plastic. And shiny plastic, which I then sprayed with gloss black base. This is a primer and a great base for shiny metallics. Smells awful though, so make sure that you are taking proper precautions or you've got enough ventilation, just to make sure that smell, it's really bad, very pervasive also. And then after that, spray your metallics on there. Now I've got a nice metallic sheen on those propellers. Be able to apply these down here. And then what's after that? Deck glued, propellers on. And I want to go ahead and do is, I think for our next video, we're going to be covering steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 and 11. Most of this here is going to be pretty simple, pretty quick, cutting some things out. There'll be a couple of things to bend photo etch wise along the way. This right here will require a little bit of fabrication prior to going on. Fabrication, bending. A lot of this though is just going to be cutting out, cleaning up, painting, and then adhering to the hull. As you can see, we'll probably make a point to point out the chains and where they go on and how we prepared them. But I mean, a lot of this, like step 9, is just taking all these bollards and applying them. There's not a whole lot to that, other than they're all going to be the XF12 and then painted with the dark gray on top. And again, right here, it looks like some of these tie downs. I'm not sure what the nautical term for it is, but when we get to it here, we'll probably work on, I think these are harpoon launchers, torpedo launchers, some more photo etch bending here, stairs, and how to bend those and get those properly applied. But yeah, just about done with this video. Next video, build video number 9. We'll work on all those steps and get all that stuff put in. So not going to bother filming myself putting the deck down, because it's going to be a lot of wrangling, and I'm going to need to get it away from this camera space right here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. As always, I appreciate you joining me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave that in the comments section for the video. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again.